Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Creepy Tales and Urban Legends. I'm your host, the Nightwalker, and you're gonna kind of wonder. I know you probably wonder, dude, what's up with the Santa Claus cap and stuff? I'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, this is one. It's definitely one of my all-time favorite urban legends, and I think you guys are already going to know this right from the get-go. You know, the title is going to give it away pretty much, but we're going to be talking about the babysitter and the caller. So that is one of the classic, probably the most classic urban legend that, people have ever heard of. It's like it's inspired movies like Black Christmas here. It's inspired movies like When a Stranger Calls, which, by the way, in case if anybody says, dude, Mill Creek, they put those out separately and they got the cool slipcovers. It's on my wish list. Okay. I plan to. All right. These are on my radar. But anyway, I just wanted to show you because yeah, When a Stranger Calls is where the movies that were inspired by this urban legend. Now, the urban legend, like many urban legends, that's why I'm wearing the Santa hat because it's the inspiration for Black Christmas. So anyway, this is one of the, like I said, it's one of the most well known, if not the most well known urban legends. The story concerns a babysitter who is, she takes a job, babysitting these kids. Usually the story always goes that by the time she gets to the house, the children or child is already upstairs, put to bed asleep. And so she basically just has to, just keep an eye on things, make sure nothing goes wrong, keep an eye on the kid once in a while. And that's pretty much about it. Seems simple enough, pretty easy babysitting job. So, the girl, she's, sitting at home, she's by herself, well, she's not saying home, she's sitting in their home, but, she's sitting there, she's by herself and everything. And then, all of a sudden the phone rings, which I don't know if this urban legend is going to really resonate with people like it did back in the day. But anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, so the phone rings and so she answers it. And of course, at the time the story was invented, this was way before caller ID or cell phones or any of that stuff. So she answers the phone and she's like, hello, or she says, the name of the residence, like for example, Smith Residence, and just this voice on the phone says, have you checked the children? And at first, she thinks it's the parents calling to check up on her. And so she says the name of the parents and just hangs up. Okay, weird. All right, kind of out of place, but didn't think too much of it. So, she just kicks back, goes back to what she was doing and stuff. After a while, the phone rings again. Picks up the phone, and, the voice again just says, have you checked the children? And so, she, at first she said the name of the people she's babysitting for. That didn't work. So maybe she thinks it's one of her friends. So she says the name of a friend, or she might say the name of a boyfriend or something like that. Nothing, So, all right. So I guess, okay, weird, after a while, the phone will ring again. She answers the phone. Same question. Have you checked the children? And she's starting to get annoyed. She's starting to get a little bit worried, a little bit panicked, all this other kind of stuff. And then, more, but she's not going upstairs. She might be tempted, but she doesn't really go upstairs. And then after a while, the phone will ring again. And then, she's getting irritated by this whole thing. She picks it up. But this time the voice says, why haven't you checked the children? And that really freaks her out because she knows now that, whoever this is calling her knows that she's being watched. She knows that somebody knows what she's been doing, what she's been up to and stuff like that. And it really freaks her out. And so, at first, she's trying to, call the parents, trying to get a hold of them, because they leave a number. Oh, there's a number on the fridge where we'll be at and all that. So she's trying to call, but she can't get a hold of them. And then she finally decides, you know what, enough of this crap. I'm going to call the police. She calls the police. And at first, of course, they give her the runaround, tell her they can't do nothing for her and everything else. But after, another time, the guy calls back again. She calls the police again. And she's like, please, I'm really desperate here. Please help me out. Things like that. And so they finally say, okay, well, go ahead and, where are you at? What's the address and the phone number of where you're at and everything else? What we can do is we can try to trace the call. So if whoever it is, they call in again, it's like we could try to trace the call. And sometimes it differs from one story to the next. Sometimes they trace the call on the first call. Other versions of the story, it's like, well, it has to go a couple of times before they finally trace it. But anyway, they tell her, yeah, you're not giving us enough time. You got to keep them on the phone long enough so we can trace it and everything else. And so, finally she's able to get them to trace the call. And then, they say, okay, she got the call and everything else. And then the police call and they say, what? Okay, yeah, what I need you to do is put down the phone and get out of the house. The calls are coming from inside the house. Okay. And so, the story goes one to two different ways. Sometimes you'll have the story like the girl, she wastes no time. She books it to the front door and just as she's about ready to leave, she sees the door up. She sees the door upstairs open. She can see the light and she can see the shadow of, the person getting ready to come out to come down after her. And she just opens up the door, books it out, and waits for the police to arrive. In other versions of the story, she goes upstairs and she finds the guy waiting upstairs, and different versions of the story. In one instance, for example, she goes upstairs. The man is in the room. He's got the children tied up, and he's waiting for her. Basically, because I guess the idea is he wants to sexually assault her. But by the time she goes upstairs and checks the kids, by then the police are pretty much running in behind her, and they take the guy out and they untie the kids. And the babysitter, yeah, she's disturbed, but she's fine. The kids, they're disturbed, tied up, but they're fine. Everything else. That's one version of the story. Another version of the story is that she goes upstairs. She sees the guy. He killed the children. He murdered the children. He's getting ready to kill her, but just before he can kill her, the police come in and take the guy down. And then you have another version of the story. It's urban legends. What can you say? There's always going to be a different version of the story. But you have another version of the story is that she goes upstairs. She finds the guy. He killed the children. She's next, and she gets raped and murdered. Doesn't necessarily have to be in that order. So, you get the idea. But, definitely one of the scariest urban legends I've ever heard. Definitely one of the most popular. And, they switch up a little bit, but they used it for the movie Black Christmas, which this movie is, I'm tempted to review this movie, but then again, too, come on. Everybody and their dogs have reviewed this movie. So, but I just say it's brilliant. It's wonderful. It's one of the best horror movies. I remember a time where I was like, I'm not even kidding. I was like, 18, 19 years old, and I thought I'd seen it all. I thought I was case hardened. I thought, there's nothing you could show me that would scare me. I've seen it all. Been there, done that, took pictures, came home. Nah. I got to see Black Christmas, this movie here, and it scared the ever-loving hell out of me. The ending really got to me. It was so scary, so suspenseful. So yeah, if you haven't seen this movie and you like movies, okay, this movie's not overly graphic. The 2006 remake is. If you like gore, go check out that version. But if you like movies that are genuinely super scary as hell, give Black Christmas a watch. It's really good. So, but anyway, so they kind of used a variation of the urban legend for this movie. But the one that's really most prominent is this movie, When a Stranger Calls. I would definitely stay away from, it's my personal opinion, folks, but I would definitely stay away from the remake. The remake is trash and garbage. But this one here, I definitely say go for this. If you're going to watch it, go for this one. This movie is super scary. It's definitely a 3-act film. The first act is amazing. It's super frightening, super scary, will blow you away. The second act, not so great. I'm going to be honest. The second act, it meanders. It's kind of not a whole lot happens. But then you get to the third act, and the third act is a real good clincher, white knuckler too. So, that's the way I would say this movie. First act, really great. Second act, no, not really so much. But the third act ends pretty good, pretty spooky. So, anyway, so that's going to pretty much do it. So, we talked about the urban legend of, the caller and the babysitter. So we finally got that one off the list. So there we go. So, again, thank you. If anybody took the time to watch this video, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. I try to get more videos out. And until then, season's greetings from the Night Walker, and take care. Also, be careful. You never know. I might be in your house, and I might be getting ready to give you a call.